Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Alright, let's dive in. The transfer student strutted into class, cool and confident, and instantly caught every girl's attention. "I'll sit here," he said casually. Yang Shi, the girl sitting next to that seat, tried to act calm, but inside, her heart was racing like crazy. Just as she was secretly getting excited about her new deskmate, an iron rod dropped straight out of the boy's bag. The entire class froze. Every pair of eyes turned toward him. Who the hell brings a metal pipe to school? They all started whispering, he must be a thug or something. But what none of them knew was that this guy's arrival would soon bring peace back to the entire school. Every day after school, a bunch of street punks waited outside the gates. They'd shake down students for protection money. If you didn't pay up, they'd rip off your shoes and make you walk into school barefoot just to humiliate you. "Who keeps doing this?" the new kid asked. "Who else? It's the Cdrama gang. They've taken several pairs already." That ticked him off. He grabbed his iron rod and stormed out of the classroom. Everyone thought he'd lost his mind. Those street punks always rolled in groups of 3 or 5. Nobody ever dared to fight them head-on. But just 3 minutes later, the boy walked back in, holding a pair of shoes. The class went silent. He actually did it. He got someone's shoes back, but also, he just made himself some powerful enemies. The class started whispering about him, trying to figure out who this guy really was. One student, Xiao Chang, dug up the truth. Before he transferred here, he broke the school bully's leg and even blew up a science lab. He got expelled for it. Wait, you're saying this is the infamous Hua Biao? But that name triggered a memory for Yang Shi. Just a few days ago, she'd been cut on the leg by flying glass near the lab. And now she realized that explosion must have been caused by him. She was furious. She stormed up to his desk. "The moment you walked in, you asked if my leg was okay. You already knew, didn't you? You were the one who injured me. Our class doesn't welcome people like you." Everyone tensed up, ready for Hua Biao to snap. But instead, he walked right over to Yang Shi, gently tapped her left shoulder, and as she turned her head, he scooped her up and threw her over his shoulder. The class gasped. Yang Shi screamed and kicked, but nobody dared step in. Her pride shattered. And from that moment, she swore she'd get revenge. So she came up with a dangerous plan. She found those same thugs, the 13 Taibao, and slipped them a challenge note, pretending it was from Hua Biao. The note said, "I'll fight all 10 of you at once." The gang was furious. Who the hell does this guy think he is? Yang She smirked to herself. Now he's gonna get what's coming. But she had no idea that her little prank was about to get him killed. She even had her best friend deliver the note. The fight's set for 5 p.m. at Star Alley. They said they'll break both his legs and leave him a message, "Stay unyielding, be the king." The moment Hua Biao read the note, he just laughed aloud. Rough laugh. 13 punks? That's it? He'd been fighting his whole life. A few street thugs didn't scare him. Without hesitation, he stormed out of class. But the principal overheard everything. He knew how dangerous gang fights could get. He immediately alerted the teachers. When they got to Star Alley, it was already too late. The ground was littered with broken glass and blood. It looked like a full-on brawl had just gone down. Following Xiao Chang's lead, they rushed to the hospital, checked over 10 rooms, but there was no sign of Hua Biao. That's when Yang Shi finally realized what she'd done. Tears filled her eyes. If I hadn't messed around, he'd still be safe. She scanned the crowd, but the one person she wanted to see was nowhere to be found. Did I get him killed? She hated herself for it. If she could turn back time, she'd take his place. Just when she was about to break down, a curtain behind her slowly pulled back. She turned, and there he was. Hua Biao, alive, smiling, bandaged up, but still standing tall. "What? You worried about me? Relax, it's just a scratch." But before she could even reply, the 13 Taibao gang walked in too. Calm, quiet, almost respectful. It seemed they were the ones who brought him to the hospital. So now the big question is, what really happened an hour ago in that alley? After that day, everyone started seeing Hua Biao differently. He wasn't just some troublemaker with a metal rod anymore. 1 week later, the teacher made an unexpected announcement. "Starting today, our new class monitor will be Hua Biao." The whole class erupted. "What? Him? He doesn't even study. He fights every day." Class monitors are supposed to be top students, not delinquents. The teacher just smiled knowingly. "Then prove me wrong. I'll give you all one chance." He picked up a marker and wrote a question on the board, a massive, terrifying problem straight out of a college entrance exam. "If anyone here can solve this in under 3 minutes, you can be monitor instead." The classroom went silent. Everyone stared at the board, completely lost. It was a question way beyond their level. One student, Li Yu Yang, Shi's close friend, stood up. He wasn't about to let a thug like Hua Biao steal the spotlight. With confidence, he grabbed a piece of chalk and started scribbling. He tried formula after formula, but nothing worked. 2 minutes gone, then 3. He finally froze. He realized the teacher had set them up. This question wasn't meant to be solved by anyone, or so he thought. Just then, Hua Biao, who'd been lounging at his desk the whole time, stood up and said calmly, 16. The teacher smiled. Correct. The whole class was stunned. Li Yu's jaw dropped. Yang She couldn't believe her eyes. Was this really the same guy who slept through every lecture? That's when the truth finally started to come out. Hua Biao wasn't just some street punk. He'd been a top science student since childhood. When he was 3, he lost both parents in a car accident and grew up with his grandmother. But instead of falling apart apart, he pushed himself harder. His room was filled with trophies and awards. 5 years straight, he'd been the top-ranked science student in his district. The only reason he got expelled was because of that lab explosion, the very one that injured Yang Shi. He hadn't meant for anyone to get hurt. Not until now. Li Yu, however, wasn't ready to back down. He thought Hua Biao was just showing off, stealing his thunder. Determined to prove himself, Li Yu signed up for the upcoming physics competition. This time, he said, I'll beat him fair and square. From that day on, Li Yu buried himself in books. He studied past midnight every night, solved hundreds of practice problems, and filled notebooks with equations. Meanwhile, Hua Biao just kept reading his comics. Sometimes he'd laugh at a joke, flip a page, or doodle in the margins. The night before the big competition, Li Yu stayed up until 3 a.m. Hua Biao, on the other hand, reviewed a few problems, then went straight to sleep. To him, this contest was nothing more than a warm-up. The next morning, the test began. Li Yu was tense, overthinking every step, but Hua Biao, he breezed through, handed in his paper, in just 10 minutes. Li Yu stared at him, stunned. There's no way he finished that fast. So he kept working, double-checking every answer until the very last second. The results came out the next day. Everyone gathered around the notice board and gasped. Hua Biao, first place, perfect score. The classroom exploded with cheers. Even the teacher couldn't hide their smile. They pinned his test paper on the wall of honor for everyone to see. For the first time, the entire class saw him not as a fighter, but as a genius. Li Yu just stood there, staring at the flawless score sheet. All those nights of hard work, and it still wasn't enough. That day, he finally understood. Sometimes, effort alone can't match true talent. After class, he found Hua Biao waiting by the gate, but instead of another challenge, he just said, I give up. You're the real deal. Hua Biao grinned and clapped him on the shoulder. Hey, it's not about winning or losing. You pushed me harder than anyone else. From that day on, the two weren't rivals anymore. They were friends. And for the first time since he transferred, Hua Biao finally felt like he belonged. After the physics competition, things in class finally seemed peaceful. But peace doesn't last long in this school. The next week, during a big math test, something unbelievable happened. Out of 54 students, 53 cheated. And somehow, the teacher didn't catch a single one. It wasn't luck. It was strategy. They called it the 8-trigram cheat formation. Here's how it worked. They arranged their desks based on an ancient pattern, with two top students at the center as answer sources. Then, each student sat in order of their grades, spreading outward in a spiral. As the test began, answers flowed outward from the middle, passing hand to hand like a secret code. But the trickiest part wasn't passing papers. It was timing. The moment the teacher turned away, or got distracted, they'd quickly swap sheets. And whenever things got too quiet, the back row students would pretend to whisper or peek, just to pull the teacher's attention their way. While the teacher scolded them, the front row seized their moment, switching papers in just 1 second flat. Somehow, the plan worked. Every student pulled it off without getting caught. The next day, the teacher came in holding the graded papers, but instead of smiling, he slammed them onto the desk. Everyone froze. Had they been discovered? Then the teacher spoke. 83 points. That's our class's average score. Well done. Everyone sighed in relief. They'd done it. They actually got away with it. But the celebration didn't last. The next morning, a student named Huang Dengdeng quietly walked into the teacher's office and spilled everything. He ranted, Teacher, they all cheated, and they didn't even let me copy. I ended up with the lowest score. Turns out, when the answers were being passed around, Huang was a little too slow and missed the exchange. So while everyone else got high marks, he flunked. Out of jealousy, he decided to snitch. At first, the teacher didn't believe him. How could 50 students cheat under my nose? But then he compared the answer sheets. Not only were they identical, even the mistakes were the same. That was enough proof. Furious, the teacher stormed into the classroom. If it wasn't for Huang's honesty, I would have never known. You should all be ashamed. The class went silent. Then everyone turned to glare at Huang. He'd betrayed them. Yang Shi was the first to snap. You little snake, she shouted, grabbing him by the collar. Before anyone could stop her, she dragged him out of the classroom, down the hallway, all the way to the restroom. Huang fought back, and soon the two were brawling, fists flying, hair pulling, shouting echoing down the corridor. They tumbled from the restroom to the stairwell as students gathered to watch. But instead of breaking them up, the crowd cheered. Hit him harder. He deserves it. Luckily, the teacher rushed in just in time to stop the chaos. After that, the teacher decided to make an example out of them. The next day in class, he deliberately called Yang Shi out. Yang Shi, you're moving too slow. I'm already on the 3rd page. Why are you still on the 1st? Come solve this problem on the board. Yang Shi hesitated. Her leg was still bruised from the fight, she could barely stand. But the teacher showed no sympathy. He pointed at the board again. Up, now. Before she could even get up, Hua Biao quietly stood, walked over, and lifted her onto his back. The class gasped. Yang Shi's face turned red as he carried her straight to the front. When she struggled to solve the problem, Hua Biao leaned close and whispered, try this formula, trust me. But the teacher noticed. You two, no helping each other. Hua Biao froze. Then an idea struck. As Yang Shi gripped the chalk, he gently traced the formula on her leg, his finger moving subtly, line by line. When the teacher turned back, she'd already finished the problem perfectly. The teacher blinked in disbelief. Correct. The class erupted into laughter and applause. Yang Shi smiled faintly, embarrassed, but grateful. However, one person wasn't smiling. Li Yu. He'd grown up with Yang Shi childhood friends, always side by side. He'd never confessed his feelings, but deep down, he cared for her. Now, every time he saw her blush around Hua Biao, it cut like a knife. After class, jealousy finally boiled over. When Yang Shi left her desk, Li Yu angrily snatched her book and slammed it down. The teacher caught the scene and took her book away, scolding them both. That was the last straw for Li Yu. He stormed up to Hua Biao after school, his fists clenched. He didn't care if Hua Biao was stronger, smarter, or cooler. He wasn't going to lose Yang Shi without a fight.